whatever
Man,
you
lucky
guys
you.
have,
I want your life.
Well,
not
that
like
was
whatever cooties you have on me,
well,
please.
just
I mean, I've been to the
don't.
doctor. I had like some, I used to have earaches all the time when I was a kid, and and my eardrum actually burst, so I had to go to the emergency room, but I didn't have to stay overnight or anything.
Yeah,
I'll
well,
tell you
I
why
mean,
Andy got sick. It's the Salt Lake curse because he refused to see the doctor.
Did you not
no,
go into the
All
well,
three of them.
waters of Lake Silencio? What is wrong with you? I have to
I
work
should have
Lake
cleansed myself
Silencio
in the
into
waters
like
of
every podcast now.
Lake because the Lake Silencio was actually like 4 hours south of where we were, so that would not have been good. But the anyway,
Hey,
uh,
Muslims
yeah,
go all the way across the world to Mecca, so you could have made 4 hours to Lake Silencio.
The required pilgrimage. I I did ask. I
This
did
is
ask,
your
and
Hajj, man.
I did ask, and when Andy told me it's 4 hours south, I'm like,
Oh
yeah, it's not gonna
man.
happen.
yeah.
Damn,
It's
Western
like
states are so big.
it's actually quicker to fly into Vegas and get up to Lake Powell.
No
And
way.
like,
That's crazy.
yeah, no, seriously, yeah. Well, because I mean, it's not like Vegas is not that far from like the Utah border. Anyway, let's actually start this episode of our podcast. I am Andy Wilson, the former Who virgin who has now seen the entire first all of the new Who. I'm joined here on the podcast by my companions, Melissa. Say hi, Melissa.
Howdy.
And Mark.
Howdy, y'all.
And we are here talking about everything that's going on with Doctor Who, which frankly right now is not a whole lot, but this week we're also going to continue our our review of all of the companions in their post work. We're going to continue with Arthur Darvill this week and specific attention on his work on Legends of Tomorrow because it's such a time traveler-y show that it may as well just call itself like a Doctor Who knockoff, like in the DC universe. So why we didn't have an episode last week, which was I went in the hospital, and after I got back from Salt Lake Comic Con, I was a little bit sick, which was just like a normal like cold, but then somehow the germs decided, hey, you know what? We'd really like to just like infect your bloodstream a little bit. And so I woke up Friday, April 1st, and had this like awful fever. I was like slightly delirious. And so I had my wife take me to the emergency room, and they're like, oh, yeah, you're sick. We're going to get you on some IV antibiotics. And then they're like, yeah, we're going to keep you here for a couple days just to make sure you're okay. Like my fever was gone and everything. And then they're like, oh, yeah, a few days quickly became like an entire week that they wanted to just keep me on IV fluids and antibiotics. Like after the second day, it was like I was completely out of the danger zone. Like I did not have a fever, I didn't have any pain, but like everybody treated me like I was a complete invalid, and I'm just like, I'm okay, everybody. Like it's okay. I'm way more likely to die of boredom here than I am of anything else. But yeah, they kept me in the hospital with no Wi-Fi, which was uh, not fun.
Not
And so I
cool.
just sat there like, what? Yeah, really not cool. It's like supposedly they had cable, or supposedly they had Wi-Fi, but you try to log on and it just like wouldn't work. So that sucked. But anyway, I just kind of sat there watching cable and like I watched so many episodes of Teen Titans Go on the Cartoon Network. That was like the only like thing I had to look forward to, like my entire time there, and like lots of old episodes of Friends and Seinfeld and Family Guy. So yeah, um, that was basically it. But luckily, not much happened in the world of Doctor Who while I was on that little medical sabbatical. But we have had one tiny, tiny casting rumor. File this under major rumor, but if it does happen, then this might be kind of cool. Mark, why don't you talk about a rumor we've heard about casting for the companion?
Well, a couple of sites are reporting that somebody is already speaking to the production staff for to become the new companion, and her name is, I'm gonna butcher this, Rakhi Thakrar. I don't know much about her, so she's gonna be a complete unknown over here in the States. I don't know how popular she is in England, but I don't know much about her. She seems to be either Indian or Pakistani. I hate that I don't know this, but the rumor is that she's the next companion, and she's already in talks, if not negotiations. So that's the big thing. She was on EastEnders. Um, she played a character, Shabnam Masood, I believe. Like I said, people in England might know who she is, but she's going to be a complete unknown over here. The other thing I read last week, it was either, and I can't recall the article, it was either Moffat or Gaddis speaking about the new season that's going to come like in 50 years from now, apparently, that the companion is going to be the focus of the show. The Doctor is going to be more of, he's going to be taking on the companion role, where the companion's going to be calling all the shots, and she's going to give him an I don't care, I don't answer to you kind of attitude, which I think is going to be kind of fun because it flips the dynamic around. And I think that probably gives us a 1 year or one season factor with the new companion, because I don't think that's going to be sustainable long term unless they turn things around with her. But I think that's probably the way they're going. One last year with Peter Capaldi, turning the show around, flipping it upside down, and then starting all over again with Chibnall with a new Doctor and a new companion. That's the way I see it. I could very well be wrong. I probably am, but those are the rumors. That's all we have to go with right now.
Yeah, interesting rumors. I mean, we've talked a lot about this. Melissa, you specifically mentioned like wanting to see a person of color show up as the companion on Doctor Who.
I did. And we did when did we talk about this? Like 3, 4 weeks ago? I mean,
About three
it's
weeks
pretty
ago, I
Yeah,
think.
something like that.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty recently. And I said I don't care if it's a man or a woman. I just want it to be a person of color because England has a sizable population of people that are Indian and of various Middle Eastern descent, and you rarely see those characters in Doctor Who, and so this would be a kind of a new milestone for them, and because the last time they had a companion of color, with Martha, they just butchered that completely. And I mean, Mickey too, okay, but I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there was no saving that character. You guys know how I feel. We don't need to get into that with
He
Mickey.
he was the dog. He wasn't really a companion.
Yeah,
Right.
sorta. I mean, I think he's sort of considered one kind of, because I mean, he did go off on with them several times, but boy, whatever. But
Yeah.
basically they've just kind of not done right by those characters, and so it'll be nice to see them go at this again and maybe hopefully do it properly. And so if it is this woman, that's a step in the right direction. I think it's a good reflection because for decades now England has had a lot of immigration, and then they stay and their kids have kids and their kids have kids. So we really need to see Doctor Who be a little bit more of a reflection of the reality of England, because that's where they mainly have all their stories centered when they're on Earth.
Absolutely, and I think it, especially with we talked about this before briefly as well, like the whole like um, does Britain continue to be part of the EU? The people who are England first, Britain first, who like are radically anti-immigration, who are kind of the Trump Cruz wing of the Conservative Party in Britain. Like I think this would say something without having to physically say a lot. It's always great when something can be incredibly political without like having to be heavy-handed. It's just like, yeah, this is the deal. We have a great new companion who happens to be a female woman of color, a female woman of color. That sounds so terrible.
In case you didn't know,
Who
she was a
bring
woman
me
of
the female woman of color? No, but I think that's really important. I mean, look at what happened this week with the trailer for Star Wars Rogue One, and like all of these
So
supposed
stupid.
Star Wars fans is like, why do we have to have another female?
So stupid. So stupid.
Yeah, I know, it's so dumb, and I'm just like, I don't know. All I know is Forrest Whitaker looked like a badass, and there's AT-ATs on a beach. So I don't care.
Did you? Okay, so I met this guy in Salt Lake City, one of your friends, Jay Whitaker, and
Oh yeah.
I friended him on Facebook, and one of the first posts that comes up is a joke. He said, "So Rogue One is Forrest Whitaker's eye, right?" And I thought that was funny. And I thought that was funny.
Jay is a hilarious guy. Shout out to all my Geek Show buddies. So yeah, basically that. Oh, I can't believe that it's 2016 and we're still talking about this crap. But yet here we are. So I guess go Hillary, go Bernie, and go inclusive casting of our sci-fi heroes from here on out. But yeah, so we'll see. Hopefully, we get some news in the next couple of weeks of who this cast actually is. So that or who this new companion actually is. That would be cool to find out. Let's talk about something that we can all be incredibly happy about, and that is the post-Who career of Arthur Darvill. Rory, who is, I think we all kind of agree, maybe is he our most favorite? Well, he's definitely our most favorite male companion.
This is
but
such a long list.
I know it's so hard. It's
Yeah.
like, wow.
If you compare it to Classic Who, though, Classic Who had lots of male companions. The most beloved in Classic Who, as a matter of fact, was Audric, was a male companion that was killed off during the Peter Davison years, which he spoke about at Salt Lake. So the whole focus only on female companions is a new Who thing, because in Classic Who there were male companions.
Yeah. So he's great. We love Rory, and he's had a really interesting post-Who career, some of which we've been able to see, some of which we haven't been able to see. I mean, we've talked a lot about Broadchurch just because of Chibnall and its other connections to Doctor Who, but Arthur Darvill is, I mean, really good in this series, and
Yes.
as the town vicar, and I think we can kind of start there because it's such a different role than being Rory, and interesting to see him stretch as an actor here.
Yeah, the first season of Broadchurch, which I've repeatedly said was pretty good, had him at his best. You kind of had to guess what his play was in that first season. Is he the pedophile priest? He's
Yep.
got a dark secret. We later learn what the dark secret is. And in the second season, he actually acts on that anger, which was cool. That was one of the few good things on the second season of Broadchurch. So I really liked him, but there was that distraction. I know we were talking the last time about Brian Blessed and how it would be a distraction. There was that distraction when he would interact with David Tennant, like, this is the Doctor and Rory. That was kind of cool. But he was very good in Broadchurch. Very, very good. He was one of the bright spots of that show.
It's really good for me because I mean, I didn't get that very much. After like the first couple of times that I saw them together, I was just like I was over it
Right,
because
right.
it was so they're so very different characters, and I could compartmentalize them enough to. I mean, they weren't winking at the audience like, "Hey, it's Rory and the Doctor." Da, da, da. So I was pretty happy about that, and I think the fact that they had never been on screen together in Doctor Who, I think was also helpful in that. If it had been Matt Smith and Arthur Darvill, that might have been a little bit
Oh,
harder. But
that would have been way too distracting. I
Right.
doubt they would have cast it that way.
yeah,
Or if they got
I
cast in the
think
same show, make sure they don't have scenes together.
yeah, exactly. That would have been a little weird. But yeah, I
Yeah.
completely agree, Mark. I mean, I think that was one of the things that I really liked about the first season of Broadchurch was there was a lot of suspicion on the priest and like what's going on with him because he's obviously got a secret and dead kid. It's like pretty good motive for murder. But luckily, this was not that movie because I think it would have broken my heart if it had been.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for that, you can go watch Spotlight. Oh, Spotlight. Anyway,
Yeah.
Melissa, what are your thoughts on Broadchurch?
Well, we discussed this again when we were talking about the new showrunner, but I thought the first season was good, but way overpraised, and the second season was just kind of terrible. But none of the problems I had with Broadchurch in either season had anything to do with Arthur Darvill. I mean, he was really, really good. It was so weird to see him play this kind of role because Rory, they were on there for a long time. I mean, 2.5 seasons, and he was just kind of goofy and to see him play a priest, it almost felt like it was a deliberate choice on his part to play like an anti-Rory or something, maybe so he didn't get typecast or something. I don't know,
Yeah,
but and I wouldn't doubt if that played a little bit of a role in it, in his decision to take that. But he was solid, and it was nice to see him do. I mean, not that there's not drama. I mean, most of Doctor Who is drama, but he was the levity sometimes, and here he absolutely
yep,
not. He was not the source of any because there wasn't any. Um, and so yeah, I thought it was great, and I'm sure it was great for his career too, to have something so high profile that made a splash here in the States as well.
yeah. I mean, Rory Williams is the kind of prototypical romantic lead, and I mean that not in the like sense where we think of like a romantic comedy or something, but like the original term, like harkening back to uh like the romantic era of like what we thought like a um a lead character should be like. He's heroic. He wears a lot of his emotions on his sleeve, and he's just a good person. And you really take a left turn from that in Broadchurch, which yeah, I agree. I think that was a really smart choice on his part to do something completely different. Speaking of something totally different, this is not something that I have seen, um, but I've been trying to track it down because I would love to see this so much. Uh, he played Mephistopheles
Yeah.
in a version of Dr. Faustus, the stage play, and I've never seen this, but I would absolutely love to see this because I mean I love Shakespeare, I love Elizabethan era drama, so seeing him in like the original Marlowe play as the villain, I think would be really, really, really cool. Have either of you ever been able to see that or?
I saw that on his IMDb, and I've never seen it. And like you, this is one I have to see. I've always liked Dr. Faustus, and a lot of scholars use Dr. Faustus as proof that Shakespeare ripped off Marlowe for years, because there's a lot.
Mhm.
There's the exact same symmetry in Dr. Faustus with a lot of Shakespeare's works. So it's something that I've always liked. So when I saw that in his IMDb, I was like, this is something I have to see. Especially him playing
Yeah.
Mephistopheles. That is fantastic. The idea of him playing Mephistopheles is so cool.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Dr. Faustus is the story of the doctor who sells his soul to the devil, and Mephistopheles is said devil. So, and it's just a classic uh, literary play, and yeah, I would like. I have no idea how you get one's hands on a copy of this, but that would be amazing.
Yeah,
Melissa,
I have
any
to find
thoughts
it.
on that? Or
Nope.
yeah, sorry, but
No, so-
it's a I that's totally honest because it's like, hey, here's something we wish we could have seen. I wish we could have seen it. Sorry. Um,
Never
before
heard of
we
it.
before
Sorry.
yeah before we get into Legends of Tomorrow, anything else anyone else has seen? Because I got Broadchurch and that's about it.
Yeah, no.
yeah,
Anything
that's it.
else?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Oh, so Legends of Tomorrow. Um, uh, like let's eventually get to talking about these last couple of weeks where I think they've come back really strong on the show. But I think we've talked about this show a decent amount here on the podcast, and for good reason, because Arthur Darvill's really great. He's having a great time making it. If you're like watching his Instagram, he's like saying that this is like his dream come true for you know putting out a show like this. So I just it's had kind of a weak middle, but these last couple episodes have really brought me back. Um, other thoughts on Arthur Darvill here before we start talking about these last couple episodes?
Nope.
No, not at all.
Oh, come on, you guys, you're failing me. No, I'm totally kidding. Okay,
Well, maybe we just
okay.
want to talk about these last few episodes.
I think we
I,
do want to talk about the. Yeah, we're chomping at the bit because these were so good. And okay, here is my reason why I think the last couple of episodes have worked is because they got back to time travel and they got back to the original conceit of the show of Rip Hunter, rogue time master, trying to save his son and his wife and doing whatever might need to be done in order to do that. And we see actually what those limits are. And when we've strayed from that, the show just kind of goes off the rails and it becomes this weird like I don't know, ensemble drama where everybody's dealing with their own crap, but it's not really that interesting.
Hmm.
Um, I think the heart of the show is Rip Hunter versus Vandal Savage, and man, Arthur Darvill just brings it in some of this, and so let's go ahead and just throw this out there. we're going to talk spoilers for these last couple episodes. So if you haven't seen the last
Ah,
couple episodes of Legends of Mark, have you not seen them?
I have a slight confession to make. I
Okay,
love
no,
me I love me some Arthur Darvill, but I sort of gave up on it like 3 weeks ago. I was like, you know what, man, this is kind of going nowhere.
you did it one episode too early
You
because
did.
Ah,
these last two episodes have gotten really, really good
I
again.
knew that was gonna happen. But yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it anyway, man.
So minor spoilers. We won't give everything away. So let's zip our lips, Melissa, about the identity of Kronos.
Okay.
Like, let's do that. We'll let Mark get that. But I want to talk about the central conceit of one of the episodes, which was a very Whovian idea, where they're in the not too distant future now, and he basically has a choice of whether to kill a preteen kid who will basically be Vandal Savage's right hand man, release a deadly virus that kills tens of millions of people, um, and he's like a proto Hitler. And so, is he willing to murder this child, or not? And that becomes the kind of central, uh, I don't know, moral conundrum of the episode. Um, I loved it. I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
It kind of harkened back to Doctor Who in a way. It reminded me
Hmm.
of the very beginning of the season when the Doctor, had a similar choice, and only in the case of the Doctor, of course, you know, this is his arch enemy, whereas here it's not Vandal Savage himself, so it's not quite his arch enemy, but since he's someone who's important to his arch enemy, it sort of felt the same still. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, it reminded me of that, and it was just really well done. And because yeah, there's a part of me that thinks, well, did I really love this episode because it was a return to form, and so I'm overpraising it because the last few episodes had been just kind of like eh, and I questioned whether I would stay with the show. I think I was pretty close to doing what Marco did and giving up on the show. Um,
I was too.
and so I was like thinking, okay, I'm sure I liked it because it was a good episode, but did I like it more because it came after the bad ones? Sort of how we talked about certain episodes during the not so great New Who seasons. Is that one or two standout episodes of the season? Are they that good, or did we just love them more because it saved the season from being dreadful? Completely dreadful. Um, but in this case, no. I think they finally are you're right, they're getting back to what works. They're winding up the season because it's only 13 episodes this first season, and they did get renewed for a second season, so they'll be back. um Although I don't know for how many episodes next season, if it's going to be 13 again or the usual 22 or whatever. But maybe because they're winding up the season, they realize they can't drag their heels, because that's sort of what they did, and it became about like uh interpersonal relationships with all the people there, and maybe that's why I feel like they could do without one more character. Because there's just too much focus on their relationships, which is fine, but when that's all the focus is, it just doesn't work. And I think the middle five or so episodes showed that. But here, yeah, because they weren't, I don't know, they weren't like, I'm not even sure what I'm trying to say. It just I guess because the focus just wasn't on two characters the whole time, like it felt like for a while.
Yeah,
Captain Cold and what's his face?
and Heatwave
Heat Wave.
McRory.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ugh. Enough. Serious.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I really like those two. But
Me
yeah,
too.
I was kind of having like it's like okay, this is fun that like we have the two villains along, but
Hmm.
that can't be the only thing that this show has going for it. And um yeah, so it still is one of the most compelling things, but this most recent episode shows me that this show is at its best when it is dealing with time travel, when it's dealing with consequences of time travel. And the other cool thing about this one is they're in the future and Ray Palmer sees all of his atom suits like flying around, and they're like, oh yeah, that they're Vandal Savage uses those to take over the world and kill people, and he's like,
Ha!
oh no, what have I done? And like he sees people who have like erected monuments he thinks in his honor, and he meets what he believes to be a an ans is it an ancestor? No, how does
Like his great 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 grandchild or something.
yeah,
And
something
it
like that. So
turns out to be a great great
yeah,
viewer. I don't even know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And who the casting is on that, I will also not spoil that. But when she shows up, I'm like, oh, oh, it's her. Oh, that's fun. I like that. Um, so, um, but the whole idea time travel and seeing like how things change through time I think is interesting and ultimately um, you know Rip Hunter has to deal with the fact that time doesn't want to be changed and it's how like how much more of a conundrum is it if oh well you can murder Hitler but it's not actually going to have like that big of a deal on the future. Um, it's it's very interesting as the way that they put this together, and I think it continues to raise the stakes because we're ultimately rooting for them to be able to find a way to fix history and allow Rip Hunter to be reunited with his wife and child. And so it makes it very hard, and it makes it that much more interesting. So, and man, the pain that Arthur Darvill like carries on his face as he
Hmm.
deals with there's a line in this last episode where he's like, I used to think that there was nothing that I wouldn't do to help bring back my wife and son. But maybe this is it. And you're like, wow, like that. He's really doing great work, and I mean, he just resold me on the show, even though I was kind of faltering. The episode before was like, okay, I'm back. That was enough of a twist to like keep me invested in this. Um, but this episode really was reminded me of why this show works. It's just unfortunate that out of all of the episodes that we've had so far, out of what 12 episodes,
Yeah.
10 episodes, there have really only been like four, maybe four and a half that have really worked, and we have
And
that
some of
big
it,
middle.
yeah, it's sagged. But some of it is that they stopped focusing on Darvel, on his
Hmm.
character, because it came became so much about the other characters. But he's the star of the show, and I think maybe they forgot that for a while because it is an ensemble cast, and you do want to share screen time. And it's just sort of like an Avengers thing, like, well, how much screen time does so and so get, and how much do we give to them? And because there's a lot to go, a lot of characters and not enough time. And they just didn't have. I mean, there were a few episodes in those saggy ones in the middle where he was barely on screen, really. And
Yeah,
when he was it was usually just to yell at them for making stupid mistakes or decisions, and it's like, okay, Dad, and that was like the whole thing, his whole appearance, and it just doesn't work without him, you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
They've got to refocus on that. That was supposed to be the whole reason. And some of these side trips though have been fun. Seeing Sarah go back to the League of Assassins, I thought that was a lot of fun.
That was
Um,
good.
them
Yeah.
getting stuck in the 60s, that was kind of fun, but it needs to not be the focus. Not every
Exactly.
episode. Arthur Darvill is a star, and they need to remember that because he's charismatic and he can carry that entire show if they let him. Not that he should. It's an ensemble cast, but just stop. I don't want to see the two villains fighting. I just don't. And I like them, like you said. I like them both, but it got tiresome you know.
Yeah.
And they've been trying
But the
so hard to redeem Captain Cold, and it's starting to feel a little forced. You know
I,
what I'm saying?
I knew that was going to
Yep.
happen.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
called that.
And
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
it's forced. It happened too fast, and I don't know. I think he's far more interesting when there's all that shades of gray. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to turn him black and white, and
Exactly.
that's just not fun.
No, you want the villains to be the villains, and
Yeah.
that's when they're fun, is when they're, let them be the bad guys and you let them off the leash. And and what was always fun was Sarah was kind of almost on their side. She was
Mhm.
almost in that world, but not quite. And so you had these three wild card characters, and then you had like the pure good guys on the other side, and it was interesting, like, but the show gravitated towards the more interesting bad characters because they were having more fun, because ultimately it's like, yeah, I don't really care about Firestorm that much, and like I don't really care about like Ray Palmer's like insecurities. I just like, yeah, I wanna see him like be a superhero. I don't want to see him like doubting his science abilities. Like that's just not interesting. So, but the show works best when we're focused on trying to take down Vandal Savage, and on Rip Hunter trying to change the timeline. Like that's got to be central to the show.
What
and
I
and I
want to
think
see, yeah, what I want to see in this show is Captain Cold and his buddy switch sides and just go with Vandal Savage. Because
that might be interesting.
I don't see, and I know you guys really want him to be redeemed, or you like the episodes where he's being redeemed and whatnot. But I don't think they add anything. Like, I guess it's kind of fun, but it's kind of cheesy fun. And I think the show could do without that.
Just watch this most recent episode, um, of Progeny, and what it has to say about redemption. And I think that, because that's the whole idea, is like, do we murder this kid? Could we possibly like change him and make him not be a murdering psychopath? Um, like, they have a lot to say about not only them but about the members of the team as well, and what Sarah has just gone through as well, about what redemption is, who can be redeemed, who's capable of redemption. um, and I can't get into too much more without
All
some
right.
other spoilers that I'm not going to get into, but it's got something to say there that's worth listening to. But again, the show shouldn't be about the quest for redemption for these bad guy characters. I think you let the bad guys be kind of rogue, and you let the good guys be the good guys, and Rip Hunter has to make them all work together, because that's why he brought them together in the first place. And I mean, I also think this show works well when it's kind of like a heist show, like when they break into the Pentagon. Like that was a fun bit. It was only like 10 minutes of the entire episode, but I liked how they did that, and they did it because they're like, we need bad guys to be able to do like these two or three things, and we need good guys to be able to do these two or three things. And if they continue to look at this show that way, I think they'll find themselves in a much better situation. But I think ultimately keeping the focus on Rip Hunter is their best bet. So, and these last couple episodes have really shown that. So.
Yeah, I think it's worth it to catch up for you, Marco. It's only a few episodes, and I think you'll probably be more pleased. Unlike you, I don't want the villains to go completely bad because then again, it's more black and white, and I prefer the gray. I think it's fun to have them on the team, but knowing that we don't always know their motivations or we don't know if they could turn rogue, but just going straight up villain, um, I'd rather them, the struggle of trying to manage them and trying to, stay a step ahead and but not being able to get rid of them because they do kind of need them. I mean, everything they've had to pull off this season, they needed one or both of those guys. Nobody else has the skills they have.
Yep.
So I don't think I want to see them go straight up villain. And honestly, I don't think they're gonna go with Vandal Savage as the villain next season, probably. So they would have had to have done it by now. I think if they were going to switch sides, unless they take him into next season. So I don't really see that happening. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be bad, but then if they go straight up villain, they basically can't be on the show anymore unless they become next season's villains because the team will
Well,
never take them back after that. They'd be crazy to.
well, they're still part of the Flash's rogue villains. So, I mean, they'll still have a part to play in the DC TV shows.
Right. But
But it, it,
I don't think they'll take them off the show. I think they're
No.
kind of fan favorites.
well,
Yeah.
I gotta catch up on it. But after what I've seen so far, like I just don't see exactly what they're bringing that's absolutely necessary. But I do gotta catch up on the show.
Yeah. So catch up. It's worth it. I mean, it's weird. Like some shows are on right now, some shows are off. Like whether they're showing um, what they're showing and what they're not. So it was weird. It's like coming out of the hospital and it's like, oh, there's 2 episodes of this, but 0 episodes of this
Oh
available
yeah,
on
yeah.
Hulu for you. And I'm like, huh, okay. Well, that's okay, I guess. I guess. I don't know what they're showing, but instead of that, but I will take it. So, but yeah, I think people should give this show another chance. They're not, unfortunately. The ratings keep going down every week, which is unfortunate because I think these last couple episodes have been as good as previous ones. But that's basically Arthur Darvill. So hopefully we'll get more of him next season, and he'll continue to do other cool non-Rory things. Anything else before we take a break?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay, then next week I am so excited. Um, Melissa's going to tell us all about Captain America: Civil War,
Ah,
which like I cannot get excited enough about this show. This movie. um, I love Captain America. Captain America: Winter Soldier is either my favorite or my second favorite of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies so far, and I love the Civil War comic storyline. I just I go absolutely crazy seeing everything that they're doing with this, and I cannot wait So, Melissa, are you going in? Are you Team Cap or are you Team Tony?
Oh, come on. You don't know? I'm Team Cap, of course. Um,
Okay, okay.
yeah, it's not that I don't like Iron Man. It's just I'm a Captain America fan, much more than Iron Man. Um, Also, the thought of all of these superheroes being under government control scares the crap out of me.
Yes.
So when you think
Yes.
about what Tony is standing for, all the oversight and whatnot, and normally government oversight's a good thing if we're talking about like banks or something, but when we're talking about people who can save your life, I'm not sure that's in this case, in this scenario, it's not the best thing. Um, so yeah, I am Team Cap all the way. I'm really, really excited about this sneak preview. And I will try to keep it as non-spoilery as possible. But this is coming at a great time because after seeing Batman versus Superman, I need to see one of the good guys stay good. So I need to not have Captain America be all like emo like Superman is now. So yeah.
He's not emo. He's dead.
Emo
Oh,
before he was dead. Besides, dead is just
It's kind of hard
goes
to be emo when you're
hey,
not
yeah.
living.
he was emo all the way up until he died. Thank you. And he's not dead, but God knows what he's gonna be like
No,
when he
no,
comes
and
out of it.
what a lot of people don't get about Batman versus Superman is that it is a perfect blend of the Dark Knight Returns and the death of Superman. And if you see it that way, and if you've read those comics, it's great. It really is. It's got flaws, yes, it does. But overall, it was fun. It really was. And Gal Gadot, God, she's such a badass. I cannot wait to see Wonder Woman. But yeah,
I
I'm super excited about Civil War. Really, really excited about
Yeah,
it.
I when I got those tickets, I mean, I nearly
I
hit
hate
the
you.
roof. I nearly hit the roof, dude. I was like, "Oh my God."
You're so
And
lucky.
my brother has to work and he just started this job, so he can't call in because he would basically they would tell him, well, don't come in tomorrow either, you know what I mean? So he can't, since he's in his 90-day probation, he can't call in. And so he's basically taken to calling me a hooker over and over again because it, that's his punishment for apparently getting tickets on a day he had to work, which is not my fault. That's Disney's fault. um, that's the day they scheduled it. But yeah, you have no idea. It's gonna be a long wait these next couple days.
I'm
Lucky
very
you.
excited. I'm very excited. Um, I get to see the Jungle Book this week, so
Oh,
I'm excited
lucky.
about that.
Hey, I have
Yeah.
tickets to that
So
too, but I don't think I can really, because I think your tickets are different from mine because they're like for critics probably, right?
yeah,
So you
yeah.
don't have to wait in line, right? You can just show
Nope.
up and waltz right in. But mine are for open, audience. And so we have to stand in line and we have to go really early, like a few hours before the movie starts. And so you're basically taking the entire afternoon and evening off. You're taking a half day off work to do this, basically, is
Yeah.
what it amounts to. And I can't really do that twice this week, I'm
Yep.
just too
Totally.
busy and have bills coming up, so I can't take that much time off work. So I have to choose, and I guess you know what choice I made between
Well,
the
I
I,
mean, if I had the, as much as I love the Jungle Book, and it is possibly my favorite Disney animated film. Um, so I'm really excited about this, but man, it would not take me a single second of hesitation to choose between the Jungle Book and Captain America
yeah.
Civil War. So yeah, like, but I'll get to see that in a couple weeks. But in the meantime, I'm super excited that you get to see it.
I'm
Yay.
gonna watch Criminal. I'm like the lowest tier of movies compared to you guys. He got Civil War, Jungle Book. I'm gonna watch Criminal.
Well,
I
you
got
can have
tickets
my
to that.
Jungle Book tickets, Marco, if you want.
Send them over.
Okay,
What day
I
is it?
will email them right now. I think it's Tuesday.
This Tuesday?
I No, maybe it's not this Tuesday. Hold on.
Okay, cool.
I'll
Because
look. But
this Tuesday I have Criminal, and I kind of really want to watch that because I'm in love with Gal Gadot now.
oh, is she in that?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep.
Yeah,
She's
Tuesday, April
uh,
12th.
yep. Wonder Woman's married to Deadpool, and Superman's dad gets Deadpool put in his head. So that'll be fun. That's gonna be
That's gonna be a good one. I think
or
it's
every if for those of you listening who don't have an opportunity to go see an early screening of something, go see General Zod in Midnight Special, which is
oh, I
now
want to see
opening
that
fairly
one.
wide. Everyone needs to go see this movie because it is just absolutely fantastic, and
Hey
it's
Andy,
one of
can
the
I take my kid to see that?
best movies of the year.
Can I take my kid to see that?
Huh. Your kid, maybe. There's not a whole lot that's really bad in it, but it is really intense. Um, I don't know. There's nothing in terms of content that's really bad in it, but it is just really really intense. So it depends on the kid. I think Julia might be okay with it. I'd maybe give it a watch and decide first for most people. So
Hmm.
we'll see.
I
It's
might take her to see it.
if she were any older, I'd say yes, maybe. But she's right on the verge where I wouldn't want her to go and think that it's boring, and it
Oh, okay.
could come off that way because it's a great sci-fi movie that really expects you to keep up with it a lot. It doesn't explain a lot going on, and if you miss some details and you're not okay with missing those details, you're going to get angry at the film. And so it's not going to be like for everyone. I think some people will really dig it, and it's got that definite like 80s sci-fi movie vibe of like somewhere between like um, Close Encounters and E.T. Um, I much more on the side of Close Encounters. I think if you have a kid who digs Close Encounters or like old school The Day the Earth Stood Still, then they might be okay with this. But this movie is a much it's a very different feel. Um, but everyone should go see it because it's just absolutely fantastic.
I'm gonna watch it.
So yeah. So movie talk, and we'll have more movies. We'll talk way more about all this, especially about Captain America: Civil War next week. I think that means next week we'll also talk about. I guess we'll talk about Catherine Tate for
I'm
post-who careers. So we'll have that. We'll do Catherine Tate. We'll talk about Captain America: Civil War, and if there's any casting news or any other Doctor Who news, I guess we'll have it. Barring anyone else going in getting hospitalized. So knock
We're
on
looking at
wood
you,
on all
Melissa.
of that.
I think we
No,
just
no,
cursed
we're
Melissa.
definitely not.
We cursed her
No, we're
screening of
not.
of Civil War.
No, we're definitely not cursing Melissa. I think the more likely is that I will have to go back. So it'll be me or you, Mark, who gets
Yeah,
re-put
it'll
back
be the
back in
Vita's
there.
killing me again. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Vita's.
or my infection comes back uh, full strength, and I got to go back to the hospital. Anyway, but let us not think of such horrible things.
Hmm.
But we'll yeah, look forward to all of that next week. So again, thanks Mark, thanks Melissa for being here. Thanks everyone for listening, and we will see you all next time.
Hi, everybody.
Bye.
And that's over.